one is, does the White House plan to use threads?
So I do not have an announcement to make about threads today. We can keep you all posted if we do.
Yeah, please do.
Andrew, we reported yesterday that that China's spy facility in Cuba dates back decades. Is this something that the United States at this point accepts, that China has a permanent intelligence capability in Cuba?
I don't have new information to provide on that subject right now. I appreciate the interest, but I don't have any new details to give.
Question here. Some members of Congress, bipartisan delegation of members of Congress, are proposing a bill to audit the Pentagon, and in fact, the Pentagon fails a certain audit, they'd have to give that money back to the Treasury to go towards deficit reduction, and they cite this because the Pentagon has failed multiple audits over the years. Is that something the administration is open to, or are they not looked at it yet?
This is the first that I have heard of that legislation, so I'll need to take the question. But since you raised deficit reduction, this president has already achieved record deficit reduction since he took office, 1.7 trillion. He also passed the Inflation Reduction Act to further reduce the deficit by having the wealthy and big corporations pay their fair share. And building on that progress continues to be a top economic objective of ours, like we laid out in the budget. That is central to Bidenomics, that we can invest in our country, bring the deficit down by having rich special interests pay their fair share, and make the kinds of investments that you're seeing bring job-creating expansions to places like West Columbia, South Carolina, where folks are going to get up to 600 new jobs thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, something that Republicans in Congress keep trying to repeal. They keep trying to send those jobs overseas, and they keep trying to repeal the provisions of the Inflation Reduction Act that reduce the deficit, like Medicare's new capacity to negotiate lower drug costs.
Now, on the Inflation Reduction Act, obviously, one thing that we hear a lot of criticism of when it comes to the IRS is the fact that some of the most audited places in the country are some of the poorest states, like Mississippi. Is the administration pursuing any reforms to the IRS so that those resources are, focused on actual people of wealth and not poor and lower class citizens?
I'm glad you raised that, because as soon as the Inflation Reduction Act was even on the cusp of passing, Secretary Yellen and other authorities within Treasury gave directives to their staff that these new resources would be used exclusively to crack down on wealthy individuals who are gaming the tax code at the expense of everyone else who tends to pay their taxes as they are owed. That is another effective way to reduce the deficit. But as you mentioned, I want to make sure everyone is aware, before the Inflation Reduction Act even became law, we were giving very clear instructions. Those funds are to be used for one reason, and that is cracking down on wealthy people cheating on their taxes, and that is what they're for.
Can I just ask one more? Were any Republican lawmakers invited to the event today?
We made Congressman Wilson aware of today's event, and if he would like to join the ranks of other congressional Republicans who've had a road to Damascus experience about the benefits that are being yielded by Bidenomics, we would welcome that. We made him aware.
Have you talked to the governor at all?
I can check. I don't have conversations to read out. He has also noted some of the benefits that have resulted from Bidenomics investments in South Carolina.